pop-off moments. But before we get to that, here is Harry Enten. I tend to think the so-called Democratic panic is quite overblown at this point. Harris still has a very clear path to 270 votes. The polls show Harris basically even, if not slightly ahead in the Great Lake battlegrounds, and she still has potential backup in the Sun Belt path.
It's one of these funny things. Depending on which week, I get different friends from different sides of the aisle coming back to me. One week it's the Republicans worrying. This week it was the Democrats that were worrying. But then you look at polling like that, and then we take a look at the race to 270. And I should point out, the race to 270, the path to 270 for Kamala Harris is very clear right now. You know, you talk about Wisconsin. Let's turn that blue. All right, that gets Harris to 236 electoral votes.
That's a lot of red, brother. What do you mean? That's the Electoral College, dog. You do realize that, like, this area under Harry Enten's arm and this right here is like basically half the fucking population. Like, yeah, that's just, you know, grass is red in America. Exactly. Land doesn't vote, you know? Yeah, it looks like big swaths of land are going crazy over the Republican Party, but that don't mean nothing.
How about Michigan? We'll give her blue there. 251 electoral votes. How about Pennsylvania? Look at this. To 270 electoral votes if those Washington Post polls are in fact correct. And so she has a very clear path to 270 electoral votes. Of course, Aaron, I don't just like looking at one poll. I like to look at an aggregate of polling. So let's take a look at the recent aggregate of polls in these blue wall states. Now, what do we see? We see very close contests. It's actually closer than the Washington Post polls. But again, less than a point lead for Harris in Wisconsin, less than a point lead in Michigan, less than a point lead in Pennsylvania. But the bottom line is Kamala Harris, based upon these polling data, both from the Washington Post and in the averages, has a very clear path at this particular point, just based upon those states, to 270 electoral votes. The bottom line is I don't understand the Democratic panic right now because the path is clear.
It's clear, and just to make it very clear for people, that would mean she doesn't need to win any of those other states you have there, which includes North Carolina, Nevada, Arizona, Georgia. I mean, that's just to put an emphasis on it. But North Carolina is must win for Trump, and any path he has to 270, I know. You got early voting in North Carolina that has started, also in Georgia, and it has shattered records in both places. In Georgia, though, what is the number now, Harry? More than 1.5 million?
1.5 million. Yeah.
Okay, and I had seen somewhere that it's double-digit percentage point, double-digit of who voted before. It could be 13% or so already of the electorate. I mean, those numbers are pretty stunning.
We just have to trust that the polls aren't underestimating Trump like they have in the last two elections. I mean, dude, they have adjusted so much that people literally claim that the polls are firmly adding on like 2 points on Trump's side. Like even reputable pollsters. I'm not talking about like the fucking obvious ridiculous pollsters. There's a lot of junk polls out there that are like Trump's doing gangbusters, right? Like I don't care about that shit. But I do think that pollsters have basically tilted the scales in Trump's direction pretty aggressively. At least they admit it. They admit that they're doing that. It's not like they admit that they're doing that due to the fact that they failed in 2016, especially. If you want my annoying suburb math, Texas is trending in the right direction. Biden lost by 600K in these counties in the picture are worth 300K votes. Just off natural swing, persuasion, people moving in, etc. Texas is viable, if not this year. I do not believe that Texas is viable this year. We'll see what happens if the Democratic Party changes dramatically in the way that they communicate a message in other elections. I do not believe that Texas is viable this year. Michigan, new Quinnipiac poll showing Harris at 49 and Trump at 46%. Wisconsin at Harris 48 to 48. Yeah, Wisconsin is not looking great and hasn't looked. Was fake 2 weeks ago, now the best poll ever. Trump was up +3 2 weeks ago in this poll. See, I told you Texas libs are crazy. No, it's not wrong to assume that Texas will inevitably get bluer and bluer, dude. Like, This is what happens when people move into your fucking state and you just are forced to live around other people, okay? That's not that shocking. It literally happened in fucking Georgia too. It's not that shocking. It's just that it still has a long way to go. And beyond that, I think a lot of people fail to recognize that the communication strategy has to change, especially for Texas. New UAW poll shows members' support for Harris growing significantly in battleground states. Union members in key swing states, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, North Carolina, Georgia, Arizona, Nevada. Harris leads by 22 points. White UAW members without a college degree, Harris now holds a 5-point lead. I wonder what the lead was for Joe Biden, though. It's probably higher for white members without a college degree. Metro Atlanta has outsized impact compared to most other cities in red states. Over half the population lives in Metro Atlanta. From Wisconsin, my mom ran a major political advertising firm nationwide and has some of the best contacts on the ground in Wisconsin, where she got her start doing Herb Kohl's races. Massive early voting numbers out of Madison, bigger than 2020 so far. Tammy Baldwin +5 or so. Harris probably more like +2. I don't know about that, and I don't even think the campaign agrees with you on that. I think the campaign is looking at Wisconsin like it might be lost territory. Maybe I'm wrong. Like I said, I don't know, but Wisconsin in every poll is underperforming in comparison to the other blue wall states. Can you explain why right-wing pollsters in these betting markets are artificially making Trump seem more popular in the vote share? Genuinely don't get the logic. Why won't people vote harder if they think they're losing? The common response to this is like people want to vote for a winner. Like he's an underdog by mainstream media, but like the real polls show that he's fucking, he's gonna win. But also on the opposite front, people will say, well, Kamala Harris is being quiet about how good her internal polls are in comparison to what the national polls look like what the prominent pollsters are saying, because she wants to drive turnout. So I don't know. I think ultimately the reason why right-wing polls pump that shit is so that people talk about it, so that people talk more about Trump and his possibilities of winning. I don't want to be that guy, but polls were wrong 2016, 2020, and these past midterms, they said a red wave was coming. I don't know why we still keep listening to polls when they've been so wrong these past elections. Last time I posted this, don't time me out. Okay, there is no other mechanism to develop an understanding, at least in the region, of what the fuck is going on the ground. There's nothing else. If you don't look at polls, then you just have to vibe it out. You have to hallucinate. And I don't think the polls were as wrong as you think they were in 2022. The interpretation of polls oftentimes is what people remember, not necessarily what the polls show. That's it. "2022 flashbacks" is saying Ed Germentum. Newest total mail ballots: Clark County, Nevada, 10/22/2024. Mail file. Dems 45% Republicans, 27% other, 40%. What the no, not 40%, sorry, 28%. What the fuck? Good day for mail for Dems that more than offsets reps good day of early in person. What, the polls fucking Herschel Walker winning easily? What are we talking about? Wait, what? What do you mean? The polls were saying Herschel Walker was winning easily? What? Were they? I don't remember that. Maybe because, like I said, I never interpreted that at all. I don't think they did. I don't think that's true. I mean, it's pretty even in Wisconsin. Probably like +1 Harris average on the first page of selected pollsters, which is in line with the margin Biden won in 2020. Yeah. Walker 538 average shows Walker is slightly favored to win Georgia Senate election. Okay. Like it. This shows Landmark shows even. Trafalgar shows obviously Walker +3, Warnock +6, Walker +1, Warnock +4, Walker +4, even 0. Emerson College Warnock +2. Why can't you go off actual election results in the midterms? Like, there were quite a number of elections where the turnout for Dems was very high, because midterm elections, albeit are supposed to be like an approval, like a election that is designed to be like, we don't like what the current administration is doing, or we like what the current administration is doing. Usually, the former rather than the latter. Having said that, midterm elections, people that participate in the midterm elections are high propensity voters. Okay? And Democrats have definitely captured the attention of a significant number of high propensity voters, like likely voters that go out and vote all the time. Okay? Oftentimes, these people have a college education, or even if they don't have a college education, they're like relatively wealthier than the average person. Like, these are people who care. They're old people. They have time on their hands, you know? They don't have like a traditional 9-to-5 wage job. This doesn't mean that there aren't people that are outside of what I'm describing that vote in the midterms, but they have a higher likelihood of voting. Okay? The general election is not like that. The general election brings out a shit ton more people. It brings out as many people as possible. That's why there's, a far larger number of people that go out and vote in the general in comparison to the midterms. The president, which is the most popular figure usually in terms of a broader audience reception, is also participating in the general election, whereas in midterms, they do not. So that's something to consider. What? Matt Walsh is anti-Trump? Wait, what? Did he get hacked? If this were Germany in the 1930s, Trump fans would seriously be voting for Hitler? I think he might have gotten hacked. Oh, wait. This is from 2016. Oh, he's he was another one of those fucking, Charlie Kirk was this guy, right? A lot of people don't remember this. I didn't know this about Matt Walsh. But Charlie Kirk, I did know. How did you not notice? This is fun. I didn't know this was a thing. Thanks, guys. Thanks for showing me this. Yeah. The right-wing ideologues like this were all Cruz guys, I think. Yeah, they